that's like the pivotal point to get to is seeing yourself as this sacred temple and having that discernment now of like, all right, who am I going to allow in this sacred temple?
This is Dating Greatly, the podcast where we talk about dating, love, and relationships. If you're a woman who dreams of a healthy relationship, but you're scared of putting yourself out there, this podcast is for you. By the end of each episode, you're going to feel more confident, courageous, and empowered to put yourself out there and start meeting your person today. Please note that in today's episode, we talk about the female anatomy as well as trauma related to that. So please take care of yourself while listening. I am super excited to welcome Deanne Rose to the episode today. Deanne is a holistic sexual wellness coach and educator who went from experiencing anxiety and depression in an unaligned marriage to unleashing her pleasure and empowering herself as a divine feminine woman. Today, she helps women become more empowered in their sexuality and live their best lives. Hope you enjoy this conversation. Thank you so much, Deanne, for being here with me today. I'm really glad you decided to join me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome. So I want to ask right away, because your name on your Zoom name is Deanne Rose, the Unbridled Woman. Why is it so important for women to learn to be unbridled, to be free?
Yeah, I think there's a point in our life, and it's almost kind of just like this awakening up where you start to question and, why you do things, or you kind of reflect about like the patterns in your life and why you keep repeating the same old things and what else do I want to do? What else is true for me? And yeah, so just kind of you have this choice. I think that's so important, and especially for women, that we do have a choice. We don't have to be tethered to a certain way of being, of acting, of showing up. We have a choice of what's more authentic for ourselves. Well, my lowest point was definitely 2015 when my husband at the time, he wanted a divorce after 23 years. And so that was, and I had been struggling with anxiety and depression for like 3 or 4 years before that. But I wasn't listening to it so much. Cause I had two girls, and they were probably 15 and 13 at that time of 2015. So, I was in the stay-at-home mom. I had a little massage business on the side, and I was just going with the flow because I had done all the things that I thought I had to do, right? I went to school, I went to college, I got a job, I got married, I had kids, and the anxiety and depression was definitely a key that was telling me things weren't, I wasn't aligned with what was in my life at that point. And then the divorce happened, that experience, and that was the pivotal time of like, okay, so like, what do I need to look at about myself and how I'm showing up in my life? Who am I and what do I believe in now? And how can I go forward into, it's like, it was a gift that I got to like rewrite a different story. I get to write a different story with my life now, and how do I want that to show up? So hopefully this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. So, with again, the work that you do, helping women reclaim their pleasure, I'm wondering, where was your pleasure at when this happened? Like when you were married or when the marriage was coming to an end?
We were definitely more roommates than anything. But there's something in my, because I was following the plan, right? So, I'm like, all right, well, after the girls are in college, the empty nester stuff, we'll reconnect, right? We're just doing this now and then we'll reconnect. The intimacy really, really wasn't there because I was actually in survival mode so much, with the anxiety and stuff. Like it was like a day-to-day survival mode. So it's hard to bring pleasure in when your root chakra is like you're very deregulated in your nervous system. Like pleasure isn't definitely sex, and like even pleasure in like day-to-day stuff. It was just like I gotta do this and this and this. And
Right.
so yeah, when you're in that deregulated state, it's definitely hard to it's impossible to have pleasure in your survival mode.
Yeah. Wow.
When I was first starting to when I got into actually the relationship that I am in now, one of the things he asked me when we were getting intimate was, "What do you like?" I was like, "I don't know. What do you do?" We like, I was like, so, and I looking back at that, and there was just like, all that the shame of like, I don't even know what like feels good for me. Like when no one asked me, no one ever asked me, and I never asked myself. Right. So it's like, whoa, I need to look at that. And, yeah.
Wow. Yes. I love that. Like, what do you like? Ooh, what do you got?
And also thinking, even if would I have the voice to say, "Oh, I don't like that," or would I have just been like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll just take this, and then, maybe it'll get better. I'll just not date you anymore. Kind of instead of asking for what I want and need.
What was if you remember back, like thinking about dating and like, how did you feel about it, and how long did it take you when you were like, when you kind of felt ready to start kind of putting yourself out there?
So, yeah. So I actually had it was very fortunate because, my ex said he wanted a divorce in January of 2015, but we didn't actually finalize the divorce until December. So I had this whole year. I started doing that more work on myself then. And, getting my anxiety in check, feeling better, feeling more empowered. I think that the dating I felt more was like, it's just going to be fun. Not thinking anything would lead into a relationship.
Yeah.
But however, I met my partner now that I've been with for almost 7 years, like in January of 2016. And when we went on a walking date, I immediately wanted to hold his hand. Like I felt that safe and comfortable. And I listened to, it was that time walking with him, I listened to my intuition and my body. I'm like, this is safe for me. He's safe. And let's explore this. And it just ended up the way it did.
Yes. Wow. The pull of you wanting to hold his hand, like that is such a natural thing. And it doesn't sound like your head and your anxiety and anything was involved at all. It was just like this peaceful coming together, and like your body was telling you like, yes, this is right. And yeah. And I mean, there's a whole nother type of healing and growth that happens within relationship that you can't get on your own. So this moment where when you and your partner were being intimate with each other, and he asked, "What do you like?" and you didn't know. Tell me about your journey from that moment to where you're at now. Like, how did that start? Like, how did you start to tap into your wants, desires, your pleasure, all that stuff?
One of my good friends, she was all into the divine feminine goddess. So she would always tell me, "Oh, you have to connect to the goddess within you." And I'm like, well, all right, how do I do that? So like anything, I think things just started coming to me. Like in 2017, I began a plant medicine journey. And in 2018, I had met this woman, and she was the epitome of this divine feminine. She was not only just beautiful to look at, but when she walked into a room, she had this energy, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I want that. Like, that I want what she's having. Like, what is that? Like,
What was it? Like,
um,
how did you experience that? Like, what was she like?
I just saw this woman in her power, just, you know, asking for what she wanted and just having this, it was just this joy that would emanate from her, like just almost like this inner peace of like, she's comfortable in her skin. All of those things like I wanted for myself, I saw in her.
Mm.
And so it's through her I got introduced to Layla Martin, who I took this year-long coaching in sex, love, and relationship. And that is so that's 6 months of that program was inner work. And it was profound. Coming to the fact that I don't know anything about my body, um, how it really even works, how to even bring like, what is this inner bliss and like, what is this pleasure? Not only like sexual, but how can I see pleasure in life in general?
Do you remember any moment or anything throughout that time when you were working with Layla? Like a moment where you, for maybe the first time or something really, where you felt that pleasure?
I remember doing a practice, um, and in that practice, I actually was it was called yoni dearmoring, and
Mm.
I did. I was really getting close to my cervix area, and that's a very sensitive place for women. There's a lot of traumatic energy gets stuck here, and I remember through that process just crying, just and sometimes you cry and you kind of know what you're crying about. This was just this tears. I'm like, I don't know what these are for. Like, even the way I was crying was different. It even sounded like a different person.
Wow.
And I realized that, I'm like, this is like deep, deep healing. This could actually be really deep ancestral healing that's happening. I really, truly feel like there was definitely this cosmic shift there of that healing that, yeah, it brought more an awareness that I am connected to so much around me. And even like
Mhm.
the women before me, women I don't even know.
Mm.
And and through more work like that, just that understanding of their interconnectedness with everything, that comes that place of that pleasure.
When you talk about the womb and that being, the center of creation, and also what you mentioned about the de-armoring your yoni and moving up to the cervix, and some, I guess, trauma and sensitivity that could be stored there. So I had a moment with my own womb. I was taking a bath actually, and I just put my hands on my womb, and I don't even know. I was pretty relaxed. I didn't have a plan what I was doing. I just put my hands there and I started talking to her. And all of a sudden, I asked her for forgiveness for
Mhm.
the things she had been exposed to, from just anything that women experience, like the trauma that she was exposed to, the objects that she was exposed to, everything like that. And I just asked her for forgiveness, and same thing, like I started crying. It was like a little grieving thing, but also I could feel like it's just love there. Like she wasn't upset or anything like that, but I needed her to forgive me for putting her through that. And also
Mhm.
in that moment too was this like bonding, and also a promise about, I'm never going to expose you to things like this again. Like, you are
Yes.
holy, you are sacred.
Mhm.
And I feel like that really contributed to my own journey to that divine feminine, and that, like, yeah, feeling my own sensuality, my own pleasure. I think I had to address some of that trauma that area my womb has experienced.
Yeah, and that's like the pivotal point to get to is is seeing yourself as this sacred temple and having that discernment now of like, all right, who am I going to allow in this sacred temple, right? So
Yes.
because when we are sexually active with somebody, there's this energetic connection, and we do take some of their stuff on, and it's when you're aware of that, and when you can see yourself as this, this sacred goddess here, it's like, okay, like who's going to be able to come into these doors?
One thing that you made me think of was like when we talked about like our body and like the sacred temple, and also who am I going to allow in, and
Mhm.
also not having one night stands. And that is something that has changed so much for me. Like I just left my 5-year relationship, and before that I was like, sure, I was like having sex to have sex. That's fine. I am not there at all anymore. I am like, no, you may not. And even if I have someone, that I'll feel safe with or connected with, I just want to make sure that like there is like a good amount of time where that safety, that connection that gets built up. So I don't want to rush. What do you think is like a first couple of steps for someone who might be very afraid of physical intimacy, who might have no real connection to their divine feminine, to their body, to their womb?
What's important to start with, and this I would also believe, help with dating and maybe like the jitters and stuff, is to get more of a breathing practice, because when we breathe, we become more grounded in our bodies. I like to also bring in movement and dance, because that also gets us connected into our bodies and feeling. Not the dance where, you're taking like, it's choreographed. It's that dance where you just start music and you just let your body like hang and just start to move like what needs to move. Like this. And those are the most beautiful dances ever that come out. Um,
Okay.
and there's that freedom. I think that's when freedom starts. Like then they start to take off that bridle. Like I don't have to dance a certain way. What I suggest to my clients right off the bat is, and it could be very uncomfortable at first. But again, becoming more intimate with your body. And that
Mhm.
one is yoni gazing, is using a mirror and actually looking at your yoni.
Mhm.
And I mean, men look at them, they can look at it all they want because their penis, because it's right outside, right? So,
Mhm.
um, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, it's like, you don't touch it, you don't look at it, it's, so I think the only time I ever looked at, my yoni was when I was younger and trying to use a tampon, and I had to like figure out, I'm like, oh, there's like a bunch of holes down there. Like which one, so, um, getting a feel, what's it look like,
Mhm.
and giving that appreciation. And again, like what you did with your womb, it's like, oh, you're so beautiful. And you get a relationship, right? And you get
Mhm.
a relationship with that and with your yoni, and then with your breasts. Like breast massage is really beautiful because in tantra we have different polarity points, and the women we receive through our yoni and we give out through our chest. Uh,
Mhm.
but also the chest is also the portal for the opening of the yoni. So, giving ourselves that a nice breast massage and
Mhm.
giving the love. And just in my experience is just becoming more connected to the parts of ourselves that can give us pleasure. Um, and allowing ourselves to breathe and move in the way we want to, that's the woman who starts to come into a room and feel very empowered.
How did these practices and coming into your own pleasure and the relationship with your body, how has that now helped you get to know what you like in terms of intimacy?
I mean, I've been with my partner for a while, so we kind of know what each other's likes or stuff, but things change. So I definitely suggest, like, if there's any like deeper conversations that have to happen, like they don't happen in the bedroom. They happen outside in a more neutral spot. So they're, so it's able to be received and not, sometimes people get defensive. Like, you always used to like
Yes.
that. What happened? Or, so it's just,
Something, as you say
yeah.
that, something just came up for me because I'm like, oh my God. My ex and I always had those conversations in the bed as it happened. And it was just, it took the air out of everything. And it like, then it ended up being like, well, okay, we're going to be intimate now. Something's going to happen. And then we're going to end up in a big, long discussion. So I just don't even want to bother. So it's such a good point. Like, don't have those conversations in the bed, in the bedroom, or wherever you are attempting to be physically
Yeah.
intimate.
If I was still dating, I would make, the talk about intimacy kind of sooner than later, just to kind of feel out this person and how, if you're asked, say, this is what I like to do, or, or like, how if this had like scenarios, like if this was happening and I said, stop, how would you react? And seeing how they would, if they're like, if you automatically get defensive or they're like,
Yes.
or like, you know,
Well, and even having that conversation and I don't want to say putting them on the spot, but in a way putting them on the spot and seeing how they react to having this conversation. Because that's going to be important, that they're open to receive what you have to say and that they're able to navigate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And how are they receiving you? Yeah. Asking for what you want or saying what you don't like, and again, I mean, it's all a dance too, like I know when I first started, I guess, finding my voice, it wasn't very, it just like blurt out, so, and that's that, it's kind of like a, child trying something new. You just have to, and then you get a little bit more refined. I highly recommend if, especially women who date, if they haven't, follow Allison Armstrong, because she gives really incredible advice about relationships and if you're heterosexual, about men, and how to really relate to them, to have them. And because in general, men, like, they're here to be of service, to please, and so it's they want to open the door for you. Like, so like, if for us, a lot of times, one of the things I had to look at when I started actually studying under her, I saw that I did emasculate my ex-husband a lot, because I'll do it. I got it, but I can do this. And of course you can do it on your own, of course. However, they want to do things for you as well. So it's just allowing that to happen.
When we do, we come into our feminine, and like the man provides for us is in service to us. And that allows us to let go, to surrender, and to be in that feminine space, which feels so like, it just feels so good and like relaxing and calm and peaceful. Whereas the other, do this, or, okay, I'll just do it myself. That feels tight and controlling and tense. So even though we might have to learn a little bit of a new language, it's at the end, it's, we're going to feel so good.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say that, I had this image, a lot of the goddesses out there are, they're pictured, so the two energies of the Shakti, the divine feminine, and Shiva is the divine masculine. They're on the, usually the divine masculine is either like laying down or like somehow supporting the Shakti, the goddess above. And so through my learning is the divine masculine is that being. It's the being, and the divine feminine is the becoming. So she gets to basically dance Shakti gets to dance on Shiva. The divine feminine gets to dance, and not in a like dance on and take over, but it's the platform for which the divine feminine can just be. And the divine masculine is also the container, or like you're looking at I like to think of the banks of a river, because if the divine feminine is allowed to just flow with all the water, it could be very destructive. You have flooding and all that, right? So the divine masculine are the banks of the river to contain, not bridle, because she's still flowing and she's going everywhere, where she wants. She's, that it's allowing her that container to be in the most the heightened version of herself, so she's not all over the place.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm recently single, so I'm back in the dating field myself, and this is just so, just so inspiring, and I'm just so excited to see what's next for me as well, and like that type of relationship, that experiencing the containment that a man can provide for me while I flow, while I experience joy, while I let go of my control.
And can I add one thing? I just thought of it is also it's important for women, is also to remember a lot of men have been conditioned with the feminist movement of the woman can do things for herself, and they might not be comfortable with that, but that's what they feel like they have to be, so if they're not opening your doors or doing that, it doesn't mean that they don't want to. I think they've erred on the side of they don't want to offend the woman. So that's the point where the woman can speak up. It's like, you know what? I really love when men open the door for me, because it really helps me feel more feminine. And I bet you'd be like, oh, thank you, because that's the way I was brought up. But I've shut that down because society has told me that that's not the way that women want to be treated. So it's when you start coming more in your power, you become the teacher to the man.
Yeah.
So it's not like write off every man because of there's a lot of potentiality there. It's just like us, been conditioned to be one way. So, be the woman, be in your power and gently lead that man into his highest potential as well.
I love it. Yes. Yes. So if you were to give one piece of advice only to women that want a healthy relationship and they're just kind of dipping their toes, what would that one piece of advice be?
I would just suggest that they start to know themselves, and that they do that work to know themselves first. If you don't know what you want, you don't know what you desire, you don't know what your truth is, you can't expect that other person to know, or the universe to attract to you what is in your highest good. Because if you're all over the place, those are the kind of people that you're going to get into your life, like the ones who are all over the place.
Yes. Yeah. Great point. Where can women go to find out more about you, working with you, or checking out the work that you do?
Yeah. So my website is deannerose.net. And I'm on Instagram as Deanne Rose Coaching. I have actually a Facebook group called Everything Sex and Intimacy. So it's just kind of a little sex education there as well.
And there's some great sex and intimacy tips on there, like really unfiltered as well, and just the things that we're all wondering about. And you just very openly and honestly explain it. So I definitely recommend people check out your Facebook page for sure. What is your favorite music right now, or your favorite song to dance to?
I love, and it's not so much, I don't know a specific song right now, but I love to dance actually to the piano music.
Really? Interesting.
And then also to anything that has like a percussion or drums, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's the piano. I don't know. I kind of feel like a little ballerina or something. Or I think it opens up like my fairy energy.
Oh, I love that. Well, it's been such a treat chatting with you today.
Yeah,
I loved
too.
hearing about your journey and how you got started with feeling pleasure in your life, connecting with your divine feminine, and thank you for sharing all the tips that you gave us. It was a good reminder to some like daily practices that I probably need to bring back into my life. So thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
you're
being here.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Awesome.